Today, we're going to talk about a story. The story is about water. As you know, water is something we take for granted. We look at water as something that even living here and where you live, there's plenty of water and always around. Throughout the world, many struggle to find water. And if you're lucky enough to have water and it's close to you, it is a real benefit. There was a small village, all of the villages in Africa, that was around this area that would travel 3 hours by foot to the well for drinking water every day. And as you know, you need to carry it, and not only there and bring it back, it's hard to carry for 3 hours every day each way. There was a young lady, her name is Pi. She would go with her family, for her family, because they were elderly and could not make the long trip. They needed to go in sunlight because grandma and grandpa were old, and so was mother and father. Because of the animals there in Africa, there were lions and all kinds of other animals that would get them. But they wouldn't in the daylight. One day, the young girl got water, as she always did every day. It was unusually hot that day and earlier than normal. She picked up the container of clay pots that was full of water. And as she picked them up, they slipped through her hands and fingers, and the pots broke on the ground. And in despair, all the water left, and she was very upset. She just sat and cried. Most of the villagers had left, except for her friend. She told her friend, just go ahead and go, that she'll be coming soon. On her way back, Pi was walking, and there was the girl already headed back, and Pi was walking. She stopped at a tree and decided, through despair and grief and shame, she did not want to go back to her villagers and their mother and father and tell them, we have no water for today. They found her the next morning. They worried about her. They found her the next morning because they could not leave and go out because of the animals, the tigers, the lions. And she hung herself. The thing is, Pi was 9 years old. Well, word got around to the SDA Church in San Francisco, California. They found out this happened, and they had missionaries in the area, and they sent missionaries to figure out, is this true? Why would a little girl hang herself? So they readily headed to the village and asked around about Pi. When the missionaries arrived, they asked and found her mother and father, grandma and grandpa. They said grandpa sits at the grave every day out back and talks to Pi. They said her grave is always, many people always walking by. And the missionaries asked, why would she do such a thing? Why would she take her life? Why would something like that? The parents and grandparents said, we don't have any money. We have very little food. Father is in a city far, far away and cannot come home. And they survive whatever he sends, what money he sends. The clay pots were very expensive. So she was shameful. Pi could not take the stress and the shame. And see, since she was a little girl at 9 years old, she did not understand that it's okay, we all make mistakes. The pastor in the SDA church said, what can we do about this on one Sabbath day? So they started a fund in Pi's name. And this little girl, Sarah, was 9 years old also. And Sarah, at 9, jumped up and said, why don't we give a fund for birthday? My birthday's coming up. I'm 9 years old. So we give $1 for every year that we're here. We all are old enough to know that we don't need a lot of gifts that we have, and that if adults would do the same, the fund would grow. So they started this fund for the village and for the water. The church itself raised $60,000 US to fund for them for water. Sarah was upset that she only raised $300 personally, and she prayed and prayed to God that she could raise more. She went back to her friends and said, I will do more this next time. I want fresh water not only for them, I want it for the Philippines too, because there's many Filipino that have no fresh water. And all over the world, Sarah made it her passion every day to think about that and save money. She would save her pennies and her dimes and quarters every day so she could send money to here, the Philippines, and to Africa. About 3 months later, her and her father, her mother, were on a trip. They went on a picnic. It was a beautiful day. And they had been talking that morning and had a beautiful day. On the way home, there was an accident in the road. Some big trucks were passing by really fast. One had stopped in front and slammed on his brakes. Well, the truck that passed the car that Sarah was in pulled over in front of them. Sarah was the only fatality that day. The father hit the brakes, tried to swerve it away, but they did everything they could do, but Sarah passed that day. We all know in these times, we all want to need and cherish every day of our lives because we never know how long those days will last. Sarah's goal was to always have money to take care of people with no water. It was hard for her to understand, as her daddy said. Early that morning, on that picnic day, she talked to her dad. What if we start all the churches all around us to do the same thing? Birthday for water. Let's call it Birthday for Water. So this father started that and made it his passion. Now, anybody that's over 20 years old would like to give. It's called Sarah's Birthday for Water. And all throughout the world, not only did they collect the money, but they collected all the money they could from Africa, Philippines, and all over. The same people she's trying to give water to, gave water back to money for water. They raised $1.3 million, enough not only to do her village, Pi's village, but other villages all around them. So they did not have to walk 3 hours one way for water. And the money not only came from USA, as stated, but it came from people all throughout the world. They did not want people to starve for water and not have water. As you know, God wants us to stay the path, help others in need, and always help someone when they ask you to help. Thank you so much for listening to this today. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll have another one soon. God bless.